The Council of Orisha was called without her. 16 divine beings gathered to plan the creation of the human world. 16. Oshun was not invited. She was the only female Orisha among the 16, and they forgot her. Or perhaps they did not forget. Perhaps they simply decided she was not necessary. She heard about it afterward. She did not rage. She did not storm. She did not arrive at the council and demand answers. She simply withdrew. She took her waters with her. She took the rivers, the rain, the fresh water that all living things require to survive. And then she waited. The crops began to fail first, then the animals, then the people. The other Orisha tried everything they knew. They went to Olodumare, the supreme creator, and said, "We cannot complete the world. Something is wrong. Nothing will grow. Nothing will live." Olodumare looked at them. "Where," he said, "is Oshun?" Oshun is the Yoruba Orisha of fresh water, rivers, love, beauty, fertility, art, and sensuality, where Yemoja rules the vast and ancient ocean, deep, patient, terrifying in her scale. Oshun rules the river, the flowing, living, accessible water. The water that runs through villages, the water children play in, the water that makes crops grow and bodies heal. She is associated with gold, not the cold gold of treasure, but the warm gold of sunlight on moving water. Her colors are yellow and gold. Her sacred river is the Oshun River in Nigeria, still one of the most visited sacred sites in West Africa, drawing pilgrims every year for the Oshun festival. She is the deity of abundance, of joy, of the sweetness that makes life worth sustaining. But here is what people consistently get wrong about Oshun. They make her decorative. They focus on the beauty, the love, the sweetness, and they forget the lesson of the cold open you just watched. The deity who controls fresh water controls whether anything lives at all. Oshun is not sweet because she is weak. She is sweet because she has chosen to be, and she can't unchoose it. There are many stories about Oshun's origin, but they share a common thread. She is always the one who is underestimated, and she is always the one whose absence reveals how necessary she was. In the story of the creation of the world, after the other Orisha ignored her, and the world began to die, Olodumare sent them back, sent them specifically to find Oshun and ask for her help. They went to her. She was at her river, dancing, adorned in gold, unbothered. They explained what was happening, that nothing would grow, that the world could not be completed without her, that they needed her. She listened, then she asked a single question. Was I invited to the council? The silence that followed was their answer. She considered them for a long moment. Then she picked up her pot of fresh water, and she walked back with them. Not because she had forgiven them, not because she had forgotten the slight, because the people who would suffer were not the Orisha who had excluded her. They were the humans, the ordinary people who had nothing to do with divine politics, and they were dying of thirst. Oshun chose the people over her pride. This is her nature, not weakness, not unconditional sweetness, a deliberate choice made with full awareness of what she is owed, to give anyway. This is why the Yoruba say Oshun's love is the most powerful kind. Not because it is easy, but because it is chosen. But do not mistake her generosity for limitlessness. Oshun has a darkness that the comfortable versions of her mythology skip past. She is associated with the vulture, as well as the peacock, beauty, and the thing that circles beauty when it dies. When she is disrespected, truly disrespected, not accidentally overlooked, but deliberately dismissed, she does not simply withdraw her waters. She has been known to curse. There are Yoruba stories of men who scorned her, who laughed at her offerings, who treated her river as ordinary water with no memory of what it carried, and who found that the things they loved most began to drain away from them. Not violently, slowly, the way a river thins in a long dry season. Oshun's punishment is not Shango's lightning. It is not Yamoja's tie, it is absence. The slow withdrawal of sweetness from a life until the person who scorned her finally understands too late what sweetness was. She does not need to destroy you. She just has to leave. Now I want to tell you about the moment Oshun crossed an ocean. Because this is where her story stops being ancient history and starts being about you. When the Yoruba were taken across the Atlantic, Oshun crossed with them. In Cuba, she became Oshun, one of the most beloved Orisha in the Lukumi and Santeria tradition. Her yellow robes, her gold jewelry, her association with rivers and love and the sweetness of life survived the Middle Passage intact. Cuban devotees still leave offerings of honey and gold at riverbanks for her. In Brazil, she is Oshun, present in the candomblé tradition, still dancing, still adorned in gold, still the deity of fresh water and fertility and joy. In the United States, she surfaced in ways that most people didn't recognize as her until 2016. When Beyonce released Lemonade, the visual album opens with Beyonce standing in a field in a yellow gown, Oshun's color, surrounded by water imagery, invoking themes of betrayal, withdrawal, and return that mirror Oshun's mythology almost exactly. Beyonce didn't just accidentally choose yellow. She chose Oshun deliberately, consciously, as an act of cultural reclamation, saying to millions of black women across the diaspora, this goddess is yours, this power is yours, this story of being overlooked and still choosing to give, that is yours. Lemonade was watched by millions of people who had never heard Oshun's name. They felt her anyway. That is how she survived. Here is what I take from Oshun's story. There is a kind of strength that looks like softness from the outside. The strength of someone who has every right to withhold, who is excluded, overlooked, dismissed, and who chooses to show up anyway. Not out of desperation, not out of weakness, out of a deliberate decision that the people who need what you carry don't deserve to suffer because of the people who failed to value you. Oshun could have kept her waters. The world would have died. She chose the world anyway. If you have ever been the person in the room who was overlooked, the one not invited to the council, the one whose contribution was assumed rather than acknowledged, Oshun's story is not a call to be endlessly forgiving. It is a call to know your worth so completely that you can choose to give anyway, without losing yourself in the giving. She picked up her pot of fresh water. She walked back. She knew exactly what she was worth. She chose to share it regardless. That is not weakness. That is the most powerful thing in the world. Oshun is the fourth Orisha we've explored on this channel, and I want to say something about why these stories matter. These are not museum pieces. These are not curiosities from a distant past. These are living traditions that survived everything that tried to erase them. The Middle Passage, slavery, colonization, forced conversion, and arrived here in the present, still breathing, still dancing, still adorned in gold at the river. That survival is not accidental, it is Oshun. If this video moved you, subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear that being overlooked is not the same as being unworthy. And tell me in the comments, which Orisha do you want next? I'll see you in the next one.